A win is a win. A win is a win. I don't care what y'all say. A win is a win. A win is a win. A win is a win. I don't care what y'all say. A win is a win.
Yeah, I looked at the link or the video of Themis and Thoughts and what he had to say in response to Angry Man. And see, this is why brothers have to be careful about what they say. I left a comment over there. I put it on my community tab. And this is about black people in STEM. And what I hate, and I've said this before, I hate how black people interpret percentages, because they do a shitty job of interpreting percentages, especially a percentage of a percentage. Can't do it. I don't know why, but we just can't do it. We just look at the surface number and we run with it. And it's like the joke that I made. If you have two black couples in Antarctica, there's only two black couples, there's 4 people, and one of those black women is in an abusive relationship with her black man. The headlines will say in white media, 50% of the black women in Antarctica are in, a relationship that involves domestic violence. And the black women will gasp and they'll go, oh my God, and da-da-da-da, right? Won't even ask you, well, what's the total number? 50% of what? 50% of 6 people? 50% of 2 people? 50% of 100 people? 50% of what? Before we start ringing alarms and saying that it's an epidemic, we got to do something. It's just like the way that they do crime numbers and crime statistics. You got a better chance of getting freaking hit by a bolt of lightning than you do being murdered. But let the media tell it. There's a criminal lurking around a serial killer lurking around every corner. It's like, what, Philadelphia has like 400, 500 homicides, right? And let's just say all of those people are black people. But the Philadelphia proper has 675,000 black people in it. I mean, you're not even anywhere near 1% of the population. Divide 500 into 675,000. You're not even near that. But let the media tell it. Ring the alarm. Philadelphia is Baghdad. Again, if you sat there and looked at the media, that's how you would feel. But if you look at the statistics and you understood the actual numbers and what the significance of it was, then you'd understand that it's not as crazy as people, try to make it out to be. I'm not saying that a loss of life isn't bad. I'm not saying that, we live in modern times and nobody should be killing anybody. Yeah, totally get it, right? But even still, those type of crimes they're only happening in certain areas, in certain pockets, in certain locations. They're not happening where people are well-to-do and wealthy. They're not happening over there, even if the person lives in Philadelphia. There's certain areas of Philadelphia where, that doesn't happen. It's rare for that to happen. Anyway, so Angry Man made a post talking to Destiny, and somewhere in there, and I did see, part of the clip. I didn't watch the whole thing. I don't got time for all of that. But talking about black women in STEM and, how black women are getting these, underwater basket weaving degrees, which the vast majority of black women are getting those degrees. They are getting bullshit degrees that do not equate to being gainfully employed. As a matter of fact, they go to college and then they come out with a whole bunch of debt. Only 20% of black people are getting a 4-year degree. Last time I checked, it's only about 20%. And I'm saying, as a people, we have the lowest percentage of educational attainment, next to, I don't know, probably like Native Americans or something that barely get counted half the time. But like Indians, I think, are like 26, 27%. They might even be higher at this point. They might be close to 30 or in the 30s, low 30s. But when talking about, who is going in STEM, yes, there are more black women who are in STEM than black men. Of the 9% of people out of that 20% of people who go and get the 4-year degrees, out of that 20%, 9% of those degrees are going to STEM. And the overwhelming majority of those degrees are going to black women who are in nursing programs. Now, I don't know if they count some of these tech programs, like if you want to be a medical assistant. I don't know whether that counts, towards STEM. But I'm just saying, if you go into a hospital, do you see more male nurses or female nurses? You obviously see more female nurses. If you go to any nursing school, it's nothing but women. And so, again, going to the Pew Research article that Themis and Thoughts didn't cite, but I cited it for him, shows and highlights right in there, which I already knew this information, that you have all these nurses. I mean, the same thing goes like when you have the ratio of nurses to doctors. You have way more nurses than doctors. I don't think that that's something that anybody would argue. But so apparently, all of this goes underneath the pissing match, between black men and black women about who has more degrees, completely ignoring like who's making more money. Even in the Pew Research, it showed that black men were making more money than black women, despite the fact that you have black women who had more degrees. It's not about who has more degrees. It's about whether your degree is in demand and what type of degree you have. When people are talking about STEM, and I don't know why nursing got clumped into there. I don't want to disrespect the nurses. It is STEM. But when people are talking about STEM, STEM stands for science, technology, engineering, and math. These are the hard sciences. These are the I work for NASA sciences. These are the computer sciences, the maths, the Goodwill Hunting on a chalkboard sciences, the engineering, trying to figure out the physics of launching a satellite into space and how much rocket fuel you need for the rocket in addition to the satellite that's on the rocket. Right? These are hard sciences. Engineering for engines and a race car engine versus a tow truck, right, where the torque is going to be different. These are hard sciences, and I think that's what people are talking about when they talk about black women are not in these sciences, because those sciences are the sciences that build the world. Nursing can fall underneath the category of being a caretaker. And if you look at it, if you look at the quote unquote sexist past, that's the origins of it. That's the origins of it. At a time, you go to the turn of the century of the 19 go back to 1900, all the doctors were male and all the women were nurses. Okay, and what I find interesting, because it reinforces something I said a long time ago about, you get these black women that, it's like they want to have this, they're competing with their men and they're having a pissing match with their men. And they'll talk about, I'm so educated, I got my degrees, and I don't have anybody to marry because nobody's on my level. Then when I bring up the conversation, which I brought up, almost 15 years ago, and I said, hey, we need to focus on the boys as a community to get the boys up to speed to the girls, because everybody was talking about, black boys is the school to pipeline, the school to prison pipeline. Black boys are failing. Black boys are out here killing each other. Black boys are dropping out of school. They're not going to college. I'm like, okay, well, sounds like we need to focus on the boys, right? But as a community, what is the usual response to something like that? No, It's about girl power, girl excellence, black girl magic. We have to smash the patriarchy. We have to increase the levels of feminism, even though when the women want to have this pissing match with black men, right, they'll point out how black women have already surpassed black men. So I'm like, why do we still have this cultural attitude that black women need more help? That black women are the ones that need all the assistance in the world. It's like we artificially keep sexism, in the community, like the belief of it, even when shit has been arguably overcorrected. So now you got like it kills me because women have been doing this for quite some time. 1 minute is I can't find anybody on my level, and then the next minute, it's women are being oppressed and women are being kept out of certain things in certain fields, and there's sexism and misogyny all over the place, and that's why we gotta go in there, or we gotta smash the patriarchy. Meanwhile, you look at the numbers and the boys are failing, right? And what I think it is I think, and I've called this out so many times over the years, I think that there's just a lot of black women that they want to feel better than black men. They want to feel that they're better. I mean, you could throw in the fact that their beauty is not recognized, on a global scale, the fact that they have low self-esteem, they've been attacked, all this stuff. So it's like the only thing that they have is this, I got a degree from Spelman, right? Even when you go on Google, what are the top degrees at Spelman? Yeah, biology is there because that's a prerequisite for nursing and for medicine, right? But the other degrees are like, what were they? Psychology, and then just a bunch of other like liberal arts degrees, not having anything to do with STEM. And so you'd have a lot of black women who go out here and they go to college and they get these degrees, right? And these degrees don't have anything to do with building up the black community. They're degrees, and this is what I feel like, this society, and even it's like that. I don't know if you ever seen that video on YouTube, how to sell to the Negro, right? And it's basically a promotional video of telling salespeople how to sell to black people and understand that black people basically feel some type of way about white supremacy and not being respected and all this other stuff. So basically they're teaching these white salespeople how to pander to black people, right? And I feel like the educational system has done that to a lot of black women in particular, but it's also done it to a lot of black men. Black men who thought, I got a degree, and when I graduate, there's going to be Kerry Washingtons wrapped around the block, because I hear so much complaining about black women saying that black men are in jail and black men don't take care of their kids, and Ray Ray and Pookie, oh, by golly, when I graduate, ooh, they're going to want me. They're going to be all over my nuts. Wrong. That's not what happens. And see, that's another thing, because the women will sit there and they'll say that they want this high value man and they want this man with status, but then they're thirsting after the drug dealers. They're thirsting after the guys that are out here getting it out the mud and illegal activity and shooting each other, right? And then they'll cry and complain, oh, black men are killing each other and our black men in violence and y'all black men need to stop. But then they like these savages. They're attracted to these savages. We've seen that even with the sisters that do go to college, like that sister, the sister with her sister that got killed at Texas A&M in my video, Black Man Bad. It don't matter how much educated a lot of these sisters are, that is, the street dude is the premier black man. That is what a lot of black women are sexually and romantically attracted to. And so you get women who, maybe they're women. They don't engage in the activities like men do. So generally speaking, they stay out of trouble. Men tend to rebel against society with violence and criminal behavior, and women they rebel sexually with their bodies, right? Giving other men that shouldn't have access to their bodies access to their bodies. So you end up with these women that, oh, I'm going to go to college and I'm going to major in some fluff degree, like for Harriet did with, I'm going to go to Harvard. I'm going to Harvard and I'm going to major in African American studies. What the hell are you going to do with that? You know what I'm saying? That's why she's on YouTube talking about buy my merch, even though she runs around and she yells and screams and talks about, anti-capitalism, which makes no sense. Or even, a freaking Hotep rest her soul, Aisha K. Faines, who had a degree in, I think what was it? It was some foreign languages and Eastern civilization or something like that. Like, what the hell? She went to Yale. What the hell are you going to do with that? These fluff degrees. You know what I mean? These pontification degrees. Don't get it twisted. Y'all know I love some pontification, but I'm not saying, oh, let me get a pontification degree because I know that that's not going to put food on the table. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what used to kill me about, what's his name? Eric Michael Dyson. You know what I mean? He's always talking, I have a degree from Princeton University in theology. I'm like, the fuck? But anyway, I'm saying these degrees don't have anything to do with building and maintaining the physical infrastructure of a community. They're just kind of like these degrees that, that all they do is cause you to be in massive amounts of debt that some black man, if you do marry a black man, is going to have to take on when he marries you. And, he's, purchasing a house and everything. And it's like, you got money going out the door. And he's like, what? Wait, where's all this money going? And he's like, oh, I got to pay back my student loans. And it's like, oh, well, what did you major in? And it's like, oh, she majored in, again, a fluff degree that she can't get any work off of. And then not only that, even going into the pay gap, what women always want to ignore all the time, I have seen it so many times, the women that go into whatever these degrees are, even the women that go into some of these harder degrees, they'll go into harder degrees and they'll get a kick-ass degree and they'll pop out the first baby and the second baby will come like maybe 2 years after that, and they'll either take a long hiatus. I got a infant and I got a 2-year-old, and they want to do that until the baby is about 4 or 5 or starts kindergarten. Okay. So, I'm like, okay, so how long are you going to be out of commission for? 4 years, 5 years, 6 years? How much are you going to, so in talking about, where men are and where women are, even if they graduated at the same time, you have that aspect. I remember there was a woman, and I brought this point up to her, and because she was complaining because she couldn't get a hold of her gynecologist, because her gynecologist, she would set up an appointment, the gynecologist would cancel. But the gynecologist that she went to was a gynecologist who she married some guy in corporate America, and the guy was making stupid money, and she didn't have to practice. You know what I mean? So she had like these really odd hours. Like she probably only saw like maybe like 15 patients a week, I swear. And so it was just kind of like a little hobby to her, but there was no consistency. And so I would argue that, you like if you it's kind of like anything else. Like you use it or lose it. You know what I mean? Like, especially when you're talking about practicing medicine or healthcare, you start forgetting things if you're not engaging all the time. But see, nobody wants to talk about that because we want to increase the numbers of women, in healthcare, right? But anyway, for this has been talked about for quite a while about black men in healthcare and how, there's so few. And basically the numbers have stayed the same for black men and them enrolling in medical school as it was back in 1970. The numbers have increased for black women, but they haven't increased for black men. And see, and this is where, and Dr. T. Hassan Johnson, he's touched on this, where we have this disconnect, this illusion of, we want to say black. We want to say black men are just doing so terrible and black men are just doing so bad and they're doing so horrible, right? And then when you try to focus on correcting that problem, then people magically turn black men into white men. And now black men are awesome and they're oppressive and they're kicking ass over here. I'm like, you just got finished saying that they were all screwed up. Now all of a sudden we got to help the girls because the girls are destitute and in the barren wasteland by themselves in the middle of the Sahara with no water and no one to help them. Right? But I'm like, but 15 minutes before that, you were talking about go girl, we strong and independent, we killing it. You know, we out here, we boss bitches, all this other shit. We got degrees. The vast majority of black women getting degrees are getting degrees in bullshit. They're not getting degrees in they're getting degrees, I'll put it to you this way. They're getting degrees in fields that in Saudi Arabia, which basically has free education for Saudis, you can go anywhere abroad in the world to get educated, but it has to be in STEM. Why? Because they have a whole oil industry to maintain, right? So they want people who know how to deal with, you know, gas and distillation and, you know, chemists and you know, people who understand fracking and all these other sorts of things, right? They want people in that field. They don't let you go to school for literature. They don't let you do that. It has to be applicable to the society in which you live, that the government can use to their benefit. America had just got totally retarded, and that's why we call them underwater basket weaving degrees, where you have people who are putting themselves in massive amounts of debt with degrees that don't equate to an actual dollar amount. Or you see people who go, they get a degree, and then they graduate, and then they operate in a field that has nothing to do with the degree. They go to school for psychology, and then they graduate, and then they find a job selling insurance. It's totally unrelated. You know, like why did you go and spend $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, $100,000 on a degree that didn't do anything? So I'm just saying, I think that a lot of the problem is, you know, when black men are trying to point, you know, this out, you know, you got to be very specific and very clear, you know, about the information. And when it comes to, you know, black women, you know, we have this whole issue of black men are doing better and worse than black women at the same time at black women's convenience, depending on the argument. Now, personally, I just think a lot of black women just want to feel superior to black men, which is why I don't get all of the issues with passport bros and, you know, and who's going where, because you all, and this has been said numerous times. This goes all the way back to probably 2010 with Tariq Nasheed, you know, when he made the statement, you know, black women have a disrespectful disposition towards black men. Now, I don't know whether it's because you didn't have your fathers, whether you were raised by a bitter single mother, you know what I mean? But a lot of you, yeah, you may be attracted to the M'Bakus. You're attracted to, you know, the 2 Chainz, right? You're attracted to that, but you don't really have any respect, you know, for either black men in general, or you only have respect for street dudes because street dudes have a propensity to violence, and you know he's a killer and you know he's a savage, so you straighten up at least for that. But when it comes to the, you know, the black men that were your classmates in college, you don't have no respect for them. That's why I don't understand you. Like I have said before, I think black men are more consistent. If they say that they don't like black women for whatever reason, I'm saying, and they're out there chasing white girls, Hispanic girls, Filipino girls, whatever it is, if they say they don't like you and they're not dealing with you and they're dealing with somebody else, they're more consistent. Black women continuously want to have this situation where you can verbally hate black men and say it publicly and say it out loud and put black men down, and then somehow still you want them to lust you and you want them to desire you, or you still lust them, but you want first right to refusal. You want them to want you. You want them to validate you, but you really don't think highly of black men, period. Like this whole, the whole, again, even though Angry Man wasn't he wasn't clear in his statement, I understood what he meant. And that's a response to black women's, we're getting degrees and we're killing it and we're boss bitches and we're all this other shit. When you look at the facts that only 20% of black people get degrees, and then of those black people, 9%, are in STEM, right? Which, based on the Pew Research, it's like 63%. It's like 60 something percent, right? And as I said, the majority of that is in health related, which means nursing. If it says health related, you might as well just say nursing, because there are way more black female nurses than there are doctors. And I mean, with nursing, I mean, you can still be a nurse. You can have your RN, you can have your BSN, you can have your nurse practitioner, right? Which is equivalent to a doctorate in the sense that you operate underneath your own license. But do I think that nurse practitioners and doctors are the same thing? Hell no. But in terms of licensing or being able to operate independently, they can do that. Okay? So, what was I going to say? There was something I was going to say about this. I just, like, my issue with all of this, the pissing match and the back and forth, is the rhetoric over the last 30 years has been black men suck, black women are awesome. Black men suck, black women are awesome. And I truly believe that the majority of black women like feeling that they are better than black men, because they really get no other validation in society. They're not, I mean, Divine pointed this out when she talked about how she felt the community was role reversed, where they turn black men into these beautiful black men, these sex gods, these mandingos that make white men feel sexually insecure and basically keep the proletariat divided, right? And then when it comes to black women, they don't acknowledge black women's beauty or femininity. And then they, throw up the you go girl, strong, independent diva queen, which, further facilitates role reversal, in the black community. And now we're at the stage of where black men are like, we're done. Passport bros, we're out. We're finished with this. I don't know. I don't, like, in black women's minds, just listening to y'all, a lot of y'all think that you gave black men all this love and support, and that you've been down for the black men. Yeah, you may have been down for Pookie and the dudes that you were fucking, and the dudes that were all swagged out. Yeah, you did all that. But for the guys that were sitting right next to you in the classrooms, right? No, you weren't doing that. You weren't moved by those guys. And that's okay. That's okay. But the way that y'all come through, because a lot of your options, didn't pan out, because, Pookie just, he flaked on you. He didn't do what you thought he was going to do. I don't know what you thought he was going to do. I don't know what fantasy you had, in your head. I'm thinking you watched way too many, rap videos or Rick Ross Magnificent with John Legend. Like, I'm just saying, like, you thought that you were going, be with Rick Ross, the boss, in the big house somewhere, you know what I mean? And you were just going to be this chick walking around, looking like Kathy Freeman Drayton hopping out of the Rari or some shit like that with your a freaking Birkin bag. I don't know. I don't know what y'all thought, but it seems that's what y'all thought. And then, again, because you all face the biological clock ticking much faster than men, you get around 30, you start freaking out, you start scrambling, and you start looking around like, okay, I want to live this lifestyle. I'm an educated woman. Okay, where's my man at? And then you start looking at the category of men that you really never were interested in. And these men know that you were never interested in them. And then, again, men are looking at it. They're looking at the calculus. They're like, look, I don't really believe these chicks are into us. And then on top of that, the courts are set up as such where she can come in, be together with me for a couple of years, maybe have a baby, no fault divorce me, take half of my assets. Mind you, a lot of black men, just like black women, don't have that type of deep support system. They may have one loving parent, or even if they have two loving parents, you know what I mean? Like for a lot of black people, they're like one foot out of poverty. So they can't take on any risk. They can't take on anybody else's burden. And black men are looking at the situation mathematically. With all the men only have one role. You got to be protector and provider. You got to make money. That's it. Women, on the other hand, it's like, they're fluid. I want to have the option of being a stay-at-home wife, and I want to have the option of being a boss bitch. And it's like, okay, a man marries a chick who's a boss bitch, and then in the middle of the marriage, because she just doesn't feel like working anymore, she decides, oh, I'm not going to work anymore. And then the black man's left there holding the bag all by himself. Not even with the help of, her non-existent daddy and the in-laws, like with what you see with other groups. I talked about this when I talked about, the whole concept of the father paying for the wedding. You go out here as a black man and you want to, and let's say you did everything right. You did everything right. You even love you some white Jesus. And then you go and you find a sister and you want to get married. What are the chances that her father is going to be active in her life and have his shit together coming from a previous generation? Probably he's a Gen Xer, or even possibly, a late boomer. Right? And I'm saying, if he's not present, guess who it's going to be on to take on the whole load? Take on, the cost of the wedding. And then you got all that other bullshit which keeps black people in poverty, which is like, oh, my cousin, he got locked up, he need bail money. Oh, you got that? And I have seen that. I have witnessed that. It is draining. It is draining. People breaking bread, cousins, nieces, uncles, aunts, people need diapers and this, that, and the third. And there's one person in the family that actually got their shit together. And they got to carry the whole family. I have seen black men do this and burn themselves out. Because, having no support at all, like that's a whole different animal. You got other men in other branches of your family and they can't carry their weight. And you out here carrying your weight, trying to be a patriarch. And it's all tied to who you got with. This is why you have black people, both men and women, that look to, oh, I want to get with other races because I don't want to have to deal with that type of shit. Not saying it doesn't go on in other communities, but if you marry into the right class, you won't have to deal with that type of shit. But I can't get past the whole, it's like black women want to stay better than black men. And then when you talk about, correcting some of these disparities, I just looked at Howard. Howard has a class, it had 200 students. And it was like 79% female. I don't even know if that's accurate. I just quick Googled it. Let me do this right here. Let me do this right here on the phone. Let me see. Howard University gender ratio. The student body of Howard University is made up of 72% women, so not 79. This is fall of 2021. Fall of 2021, and 28% men. So you know those men on that campus are having a ball because all those women got to fight for the 28 men. So let's just round that out. So basically 7 women have to compete for 3 dudes. That's what we're looking at. And every time I say, as a community, at the collective level, not specifically what black women will do, but I most certainly don't expect to hear objections. I don't expect to hear the type of shit that Harriet is talking about smash the patriarchy. I'm like, what patriarchy? What patriarchy are you talking about exists in the black community with numbers and disparities like this? Yes, an individual man can have a patriarchal household, but at the collective level, no. This is what we talk about when we talk about the issue of black men not controlling the economic landscape in their own communities. You know, going back to when we actually did, here comes jealous white folks, you know, burning us out and running highways through our communities, and we never recovered. But every time I say, hey, it's going to be a problem for the next generation of women and girls if we don't get these boys up to snuff. All the whole rhetoric is just, well, black women, black girl magic, black girl power girl, you know, black girl. And I'm like, okay, we're going to continue down this path. And then in the next 20 years or the next 15 years, when everybody's grown, then it'll just be the same thing and black women bitching about, I can't find anybody on my level. Right? Or you get the women that even when they come across a dude that has beat the odds and he's killing it, they immediately retreat to wanting to use Pookies and Dusties and this, you know, well, black women are going to Howard 72 to 28 in relationship to black men. And what does that have to? This brother is a doctor, or this brother is a judge, or this brother is in corporate America or something, and he makes more money than you. What does what's going on at Howard have to do with this brother that I just introduced you to? Nothing. But see, there's that thing in the back of black women's minds. See, there's a lot of black women, I'm not going to say it's all of them, but there's a lot of black women, they like to feel better than black men. And they can't do that if they go out here and they get with a dude that's awesome. Okay, now he overshines her success. You know what I mean? And then on top of that, you got dusty dudes, street dudes, and I know because I've seen it, because I remember I had to check a dude in college who was bragging to me about how his girl made $100,000, and he was, you know, showing me her apartment like the shit was his. I went the fuck off. I snapped on his ass. Type of bitch ass shit is this? And there's, you know, there's dudes that they look at it like, you know, yeah, my girl did, you know, I'm a hellified motherfucker because I was able to pull a bitch like that. And I'm like, that is such a low vibrational, and I don't even use that word. That's such a low vibrational way, like outlook on life. Like, I'm hellified because I pulled a bitch that's got it going on more than I got it going on. Right? And I bet you he ain't with her today. I bet you she dropped his ass as soon as she's, again, that resentment, it will always grow. It will always grow. You know, I see the potential in it. If that potential doesn't pop off in within 365 days, you better believe that resentment is growing. You know, so you know, and I'm saying, like, they play off of each other. She likes to be woman stroked. he likes to basically get free shit and think that he's got superior pipe laying skills. You know what I'm saying? I'm hellified. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? She raised her voice to me. You know what I'm saying? I hit her with that pipe. That'll straighten her out. And yeah, if you got some pipe laying skills, yeah, the first 2 times and shit, you know what I mean? You blow her mind and she's all digmatized and shit like that. But I'm like, nigga, is that all? Is that it? That's your super move? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's it. And these dudes, they don't get it. And the women that are in relationships like that, they don't get it either. You can't drag a bitch away from a dude like that because she likes being gassed. And a lot of times, if that woman is like just average at best, you know what I mean? She ain't never had any amount of thirst. She might be slightly overweight. You know what I mean? She's just, you know, she's not even alright. She's just dudes that have options wouldn't even look at her twice. And you got this dude gassing her head up. You know what I mean? That's hard to resist. It's hard to resist somebody when you get a person that never got any attention and now all of a sudden they got this dude giving them attention. And it's like, yeah, but look at the type of dude that's giving you attention. Don't you see that he's compromised? Don't you see that he don't got it like that? That's why he's stroking your ass. Don't you see that? No, it's very difficult to get anybody on individual, male or female, to see that shit. That's the whole process. That's one of the reasons why, you know, Captain Solo, we've talked extensively about arrogance and people having arrogant and people being arrogant over shit that like is all based off of what the media told you about yourself. You know, the media tells you, oh, you's a black king. You a black king. Or Hotep's come in and say some shit like that. And dudes are like, yeah. And it's like, okay, what do you actually have? Like they're so in the clouds. It's the same thing as religion. You're just high off of the feeling, the rush. You know, and it's bullshit. You know, but I cannot get over, you know, the fact that what I constantly see from black women is I see this, we want to be better than black men. We want to be better than black men. We want to be better than black men. And then I'm like, well, where does hypergamy come into all this? Where does you only want to date up come into all of this? When do y'all decide that's what you finally want? And how do you even get there with this constant contradiction that you all come with, where you want a man to be awesome and you want him to be better than you, but yet you at the same time you don't want him to be better than you. You don't want him to wield power. You don't want him to have control. You don't want him to have final say. You don't want him to be, you know, making moves that you have to go along with. Like the very personality of the man that a woman would respect and desire, and and the thing is not just black women, all women find that attractive. I personally don't think women are race loyal. Women are loyal to power. That's what women are loyal. Women are loyal to power, and women are loyal to status. So I'm saying the thing with black women though is it's like they have this like, I don't know. They're like a cart or a vehicle with a rusted wheel. It's like you got 3 of the wheels rolling, and you're like, okay, we're moving, and then you got this one wheel that just will not turn. It's like the brake is just locked, and that's what it's like with a lot of sisters. Not all, but a lot. You know, and now we're at a point where a lot of brothers are just saying, I'm not dealing. We've seen your behavior. And I said in my last video, I'm like, Kevin Samuels absolutely accelerated the Exodus. Not him per se on his own, but the fact that these women came on there showing how unreasonable they are and their ridiculous, nonsensical ideas. The majority of those women that called in. And just demonstrated on a nightly basis how much they were resistant and reluctant to getting with the program. They wanted all this shit. I want a man that's got this, and he's got to be 6'5", and he's got to have 6 inches, and he's got to make 6 figures, and he's got to all this shit. But they weren't about to follow on any level. It was just lip service. Or the woman's chameleonness would be so blatant that it was like, chick, we don't believe you. We do not believe you. Or it would be like something like where a chick would talk and then you start hearing about the other dudes that she dealt with, and it's like, you don't even deserve a man of that caliber. Why should you get that when you done given all of your essence to a dude that didn't have a fraction of that? What makes you think that this dude wants you after he knows that freaking all these other guys have just had you off of the strength of nothing? That's another thing that women ignore, because again, that subscribes to the patriarchy, because it subscribes to living up to the man's expectation of her behavior. But what women always ignore is that in the patriarchy, in the world of men, you represent him. That's what you all miss. That's why you get dudes that run around and they don't want, all your tiggly bits out. That's why you get dudes that are like that. They want you to be classy and sophisticated once you're his woman, because you represent him when you're out there in these streets. So, it just black women are a walking contradiction. And I'm saying, whether it's Themis and Thoughts, whoever else that want to bring out the capes, and they want to say, all black men are terrible, and they're terrible, and it's a problem with black men, and the self-hatred is so deep, and, just all these classic bullshit-ass tropes. None of this shit's going to turn around. Black women are going to have to be honest with themselves about, what they actually want. Do you want to be better than black men, or do you want black men to be better than you? You know what I mean? Do you want to be like the white women at their weddings bragging about their husband's achievements and their husband's accomplishments? Because that's the type of shit that black men are out here looking for. They're looking for women that are going to play their role, and the men play their role in a world where men, compete, amongst other men. That's what they're looking for. They're looking for a woman that's going to be their cheerleader, their confidant, their emotional support. That's not to say that a woman can't go out here and have a career and do what she does, but with this whole, women running around talking about my legacy, what I'm saying, like my generational wealth and shit like that, like that's off-putting. But I'm saying the feminists will come through and be like, what's off-putting about that? See, y'all niggas is weak and y'all intimidated by the strength of a black woman. That's the only thing that's going to be said. And look, this has been explained ad nauseum forever. And if people want to sit there and they want to pretend like, they're too obtuse to understand what is being said and what is being laid, then so be it. You know what I mean? Like it's a free country, and people are just going to, men in particular, black men are just going to go, in the path of least resistance and go find somebody that isn't hyper focused on race and is cooperative, and then they can go out and, form a family with that shit. No, it's not going to be a black community. It's not going to be Wakanda. It's not going to be black empowerment. It's not. And don't be surprised if white supremacy, the smart white supremacy, starts encouraging this shit. I'd argue that they actively are, because that's one way to eliminate the conversation of reparations for slavery, because what black people would I owe for reparations for slavery if it's a bunch of mixed and half-breeds running around? Who would I owe at that point? Moo ha 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 ha. This is why they keep track of the Native Americans and what quarter of them is Native American, because the money has already been designated to be allocated to Native Americans. Like the Sioux Nation, they just haven't accepted it. They got like some billions of dollars coming. I think it's like $2 billion for the Sioux Nation, but they haven't accepted it. They're like, nah, like we're not accepting it, because they know once they accepted it, that's it. They're trying to get that shit up. They're like, nah, we're gonna need more than that. You know what I mean? But the government's like, this is what we're gonna give you, and we're gonna make sure that it's just sitting like in a bank somewhere. It's like, and if you take this money, like it's only gonna go to those that actually can prove their Native American background. So with African Americans, the more that they can get black men to go out here and breathe themselves out, hey, that's less reparations that we got to talk about. You know what I mean? Ain't nobody trying to hear we owe Steph Curry reparations. Ain't nobody trying to hear that. Aisha Curry, we owe her reparations. The bitch looked like a white woman. Like, no. You know? So, I mean, yeah, from the standpoint of white supremacy, but at the same time, if in the black community, I mean, goddamn, you know, like, you can't have a conversation about fixing what's going on with the boys. You know, no designated focus, you know, just like with Ice Cube and Claudia Jordan and Vivica Fox, you know, well, what about black women? It's like, oh my God, like, contract with Black America, that includes black women. Hey, y'all can write whatever section you want to write. Now, why don't you write it? I'm not a woman. I don't know what the specifics are of what's going on. I mean, just, again, the nastiness. The only one that wasn't nasty was Lisa Ray, and that's because Ice Cube is the one that started her career, so she knew to keep her mouth shut. And I'm saying, like, I hate to point that out, but, you know, you see the type of cooperation you get when you actually out here and you putting a woman on. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, but, you know, it's like we're not there yet, and the shit is just ass backwards, and, you know, black women just want to stay in a perpetual state of we're better than black men. And I'm like, okay, but that I have a problem with the idea of, you know, loving a woman and kissing a woman all up on the mouth, and, you know, having these strong emotional black love feelings for somebody who feels that way about me. And black women are weird with that shit, because you all will fuck, you all will suck, you all will have the babies of men you don't respect. I don't get that. Somebody I don't respect, somebody who I think there's something wrong with them, like, I don't want them in my vicinity. I don't want them in my space. I don't know what y'all derive or get out of it, but maybe it's because we have this societal support system of women from a cultural standpoint, of black women specifically, where, like, y'all can go out here, have a baby with anybody, then you can claim that, you know, you a strong, independent woman, and this high fives and you go, girl. Like, there's this whole system that supports black women engaging in bad behavior. And we can't call it out. We can't correct it. We can't this and that. It's just a constant, like, anything black men says, you know, in response to black women's drivel. And it's, you hate black women. You hate your mother. Your mother's black. You know, like, it's just all this bullshit. I'm like, chick, I already know you think that you're better than dudes, and you like that position. You like being better than dudes. But if that's the case, then all these conversations about you want to date up and hypergamy and this, that, and that are bullshit. Because as soon as you come across a dude that's doing better than you, you start feeling some type of way. You start, as that woman said on that Blog Talk Radio show, anytime I come across a black man that's doing better than me, I got to reevaluate myself. I got to reevaluate myself. Like, how dare a black man surpass me? There must be something wrong with me. Oh, I got to correct this because I got to stay ahead of these niggas. That's our own black women saying that about us. So I'm saying, honestly, you know, when y'all want to jump up Cynthia G or whoever, and you want to talk about the white supremacy and this bitch said that and this non-black woman said that and everything, I'm not going to say that it's worse, but I'm saying it's in the same vein. It's in the same vein. Like like black women don't have the secret sauce, as it pertains to, oh, we would never put you down like that. It's just these other races of women. No, we don't. I'm sorry, I don't feel the love. You know what I mean? A lot of us, the only black woman that we have that deep-seated love for are our own mothers. The rest of y'all are just some random bitch on the street. We have like zero connection to you all other than like the hoteps and shit and a bunch of slick talking dudes that just, want you to, they go to spoken word events and they snap because they trying to get some pussy. But the rest of us, like, we don't. I used to say this shit to Captain Solo a long time ago. I said, we have distinct cultures. Black men's culture and black women culture is two different things, and they don't align. If they aligned, we wouldn't be having the relationship problems that we're having. But they don't align. And again, you want to say, oh, well, black men think that they're better than black women. It's like, generally speaking, I think I'm better than women in general as a man because there's things that women can't do. And I know this. I know that when shit gets hard and shit gets fucked up, they're going to be looking right at me like, nigga, aren't you going to do something? I already know that. You know what I mean? But I don't have this disdain idea of being better than a woman. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm not saying that women, the idea of me thinking I'm better than a woman, it doesn't acknowledge let's say a woman is, I don't like math. I'm not the greatest at math. Let's say a woman is better than math than me. Like, it's not like I don't recognize that. I'm like, yo, can you check this for me? Because I want to make sure this is right. And I know that, like, you can do calculations in your head, which I can't do. You know what I'm saying? You can just double check. Yeah, that looks right. Okay, thanks. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't, like, yeah, she's better at me than, at this particular subject or whatever. But I don't expect, freaking, if the Vikings came over the horizon, what's in your wallet? I don't expect freaking, that she's gonna do anything. I'm like, shit, I gotta act. I gotta do something. I know that. Y'all want to get mad about, oh, men ain't better than women. And this, take that shit up with God. Take that shit up with God. God made me 150 pounds heavier than you. God made me taller than you. God made me physically stronger than you. I mean, get real. And then here's the women. Well, just like white supremacists. Well, you may have all of those physical attributes, but we're smarter than you. And I won't doubt to say that, yes, there's some very intelligent women out there. You know what I mean? But let's throw in, women being overly emotional and men being critical thinkers. This is a whole, we can get into a pissing match of who's smarter and who's not, or who's like how boys learn versus how girls learn. And boys are more hands-on and girls can like sit in a chair for 8 hours straight and not fidget and not move. And boys like got raging testosterone. They just want to fucking go and run and everything else like that. Again, like, that's what the evolution was for fucking millennia. Hunter-gatherer, all that shit, and we're gonna take boys and you're gonna sit here and you're gonna take this, 5-hour test and you're gonna fill in bubbles and shit like that. Fucking, it's different, but we haven't come up with an educational system, to deal with that type of shit. You know what I mean? But, because, the schools and academia has become female oriented, contrary to popular belief, the women are like, see, it's because women are smarter and we're so brilliant and da 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 da. And then they'll point to like, the handful of women that, oh, she invented this and she did this. And I acknowledge that there's female inventors. Nobody's saying that there's not. You know what I mean? But when y'all get into the women are just better than men, I'm like, huh? I'm like, how far do you want to take that? You know, and it's always funny when we get into the, the intellectual shit, because, it's like, how do you gauge that? How do you prove that? How do you, is it, a fucking a test? A paper test? I don't know. Right? But, just looking at, the men being not less emotional than women, like, I'm positive there's areas where that is more beneficial than a woman. So, this is where we are with the whole gender war thing. And I just generally think like men are tired of it. And so they're going and, looking at places in the world that are probably, socially 50 years behind all of this ultra leftist progressivism in America. Maybe not 50 years, 30 years behind. Whatever you want to throw up. They're just like slightly behind. Okay? And so I think that's just where men are going with it. It's like all the Western women have seemingly been corrupted. And men are like, nah, man, I'm good. And women really don't understand like just how good men are. Like when I say how good they are, like I'm talking about when a man says, nah, I'm good. Like they really don't understand that shit. Like the juice isn't worth the squeeze. You know what I mean? You start rolling into this situation where men hate women and love pussy. And it's like, man, well, let me go get that somewhere else. I don't want to deal with her. I don't want to deal with this. Like you start getting into the areas where we don't like you as people. We don't like you as a person because you have a horrible personality. You're selfish. Nobody wants to be around you. We don't want to fuck with you. Because, you're unreasonable. You're nasty. And men are just like, I'm out. And again, you have all this societal bullshit that just backs women up. Like women are nice and sugar and spice. And men are just, they're just the worst. And again, it's always, men are the ones that get the majority of the executions. Men are the ones, that are disposable in society. Like men are the ones that do all the dangerous and dirty jobs and are the, the highest rate of, occupational death and shit like that. And it's just like a thankless job. And so men are like, man, fuck all this. We don't even get a salute. We don't even get an acknowledgement. We don't get a medal. We don't get nothing. We get nothing that even distinguishes the fact that we did the damn thing. Like nothing. And then you have all this, I like a bad boy. It's like, yeah, you mean the guy that didn't wake up 5:30 in the morning to get this shit done? You mean that motherfucker? You know what I mean? Like, it's like, where is the fucking payoff for doing any of this shit? And then you have women like just running around, oh, we're awesome, we're this and that. And it's like you want to let shit collapse. You want it to collapse, and you want it to collapse hard as fuck. Until women are down on their knees, groveling, begging for the return of the kings or some shit like that. Literally. It sounds cheesy. It sounds cheesy as fuck. But I'm saying it's like when are women going to learn? You know what I mean? It seems like they don't learn until like freaking, they go out here and, like they hit the wall and they look around like this shit that you see with Tracy Ellis Ross and she's 50 and not married and didn't have any kids is like, really? You wake up at fucking 50? Whatever, however old she is, I'm like, really? Now you're like, oh my God, my life. Oh my God. You know what I mean? But before that, she was, I'm doing my own thing. Right? It's just nuts. It's like, I'm all pro blackity black for the community, all that other stuff, but when you start walking through the details and just the mechanics of how this shit is actually supposed to work, it doesn't look possible. because there's too many ingrained cultural things, too many myths, too many lies that black women believe about black men. It's all negative, and it always puts them, black women we're just so great, and we're just doing wonderful things, and black women are just killing it, and we're just awesome, right? And then black men are just denigrated, like y'all ain't shit. You know what I mean? That's why, like, this whole the way that the online space has like reversed that. And black women are like, oh my God, they're bashing us. We're victims. And this, that, and the third. Like, and they just completely want to ignore everything that black men have had to face and listen to this whole time. Black women talking that now black women want to bring up, well, what about white supremacy? Bitch, you were sitting right there holding hands with white supremacy. Fuck are you talking about? You were right there with white supremacy, pointing the finger at us and yelling at us. Save us, white supremacy. Save us, these evil black men, because we have nothing to do with their criminal activities and their drug dealing ways. Bitch, you were in the fucking car riding around in the nigga's Charger with the 22-inch rims. I saw you, bitch. I saw you circle freaking Independence Hall 3 times. I saw you circle that bitch. I saw you pull up in Geno's and hop out the whip, bitch. I saw you. Come on. That ain't your car. That ain't even your style. What chick do you know that's got a fucking murdered out Charger, black on black? Get the fuck out of here. Y'all don't be buying no shit like that. Y'all be out here like, oh, can I get that Mercedes-Benz CLK Cabriolet? Can I get the Jetta Cabriolet? You know what I mean? Y'all don't be out here. Y'all be trying to get some cute shit. Can I get that X3 BMW? Oh my God, it's so cute. I like it in white. And can I get the cream white interior? You know what I mean? Like, no, dudes ain't like, oh, let me get that white on white. Like, no, they take the black on black before they take the white on white. And then they tint them goddamn windows out, 5% tint all around that motherfucker. You pull up, you gotta crack the window just to see out that bitch when you get to the corner and shit. Little kid come riding by, popping wheelies on the bike in Philly and shit like that. You almost hit that nigga like, oh shit, damn nigga. You know what I mean? And because you couldn't see him, because you couldn't see through that 5% tint. Like, y'all need to stop. Y'all need to stop. Like a lot of these chicks, even the educated ones, y'all be some weed rolling bitches. I've met so many educated women that were on some weed rolling and fucking doing all type of and they thought that I thought it was cute. And I'm sitting there fucking mortified. You know why? Because I don't engage in illegal activity like that. And even if I did, I most certainly wouldn't tell y'all online, not in a public space, in a public forum with the feds watching. You know what I'm saying? But I'm just saying, I was mortified. I'm like, God damn, this bitch is more street than me. That ain't cute. That ain't sexy. And it really hints at who she was really dealing with. And I'm like, well, damn. I mean, how's she going to react when she really discovers like that I'm a lame or I'm a square dude or like what, like how's that going to play out? How's she going to react to that? Shit, maybe I could fuck her real quick before she realizes, Let me get some of this ass before she realizes and then get the fuck out. I didn't know that she was a lame. I ain't never give my Gucci to no lame ass nigga. And I'm sitting there like, ha ha ha, gotcha, bitch. Yeah, gotcha, bitch. Yeah. Don't let the muscles fool you. Right? But anyway, yeah, this is just what I think about the whole situation. Just they think that they're better than us. And when I talk about, fixing the problem, not so black men can brag and not so that they can sit there and be like, we're better than black women. Like, no, but to actually fix the community and have black men in a position that y'all actually could respect. But if y'all don't like that dynamic, if y'all on that for Harriet, Kimberly type tip, then it can't be corrected. And I cannot emphasize that enough. I can't encourage black men to raise themselves to a level that you all wouldn't want because of the power dynamic shift that would happen. I'm like, nah, he needs to walk. He needs to go out there and take himself to other communities because I'm not going to tell him that he needs to be something that you would just simply avoid once he got to that. That's just crazy. You know what I mean? And for somebody who's young, who's like, yeah, man, Kerry Washington's wrapped around, because that's what they told us. And then they get there and it's like, nah, it's not like that. Nah. The rules that they tried to apply to young, educated black men or black men who were in school and everything were rules that in large part came from the white community and many other communities. It is not a code of conduct, a staple of behavior in the black community. It's just not. The shit was already broken, but they did it because they wanted to keep as many black boys focused on school as they possibly could. But the thing is you got to focus on the other end too. You it's like, oh, get the boys, get them in school, and the ones that you do get in school, when they get out, you have no freaking women to receive them. And arguably vice versa. Yeah, black girl magic, get the girls educated and everything. And I'm like, do you have a comparable number of boys to receive them when they finish? No. I'm like, what are y'all doing? And then the belief systems are just like wrong. Like you got black boys being taught, get yourself together, so that you can add a woman to your program. And then you got women being told, get yourself together, girl, so that you could basically be independent of a black man. Those two things don't go together. You got black boys trying to establish themselves to be fucking patriarchs and providers and have a woman get with their program. And then you got black women talking about, preparing for the absence of a black man. I'm like, you know what I mean? Like there's definitely going to be some headbutting when they finally come across each other, even if they're attracted to each other. You know what I mean? Motherfuckers like, okay, all right, and, you going to move in with me, and then, what? Nigga, move in with you? Nigga, you going to move in with me? No, I'm not going to move in with you. You going to move in with me? Nigga, I am not moving in with you. You going to move in with me. I'm not moving in with you because my mama and my great-great-grandmama told me about the time that my great-great-granddaddy, they came home and all the furniture was gone, nigga. I know how y'all niggas do. Like, what? Who was this dude? Was he an educated black man? No, he was some nigga that worked for the railroad or some shit like that. They're telling you these fucked up stories. Always the victim. And it reminds me of a white friend of mine who, I remember he said this shit one time, and he was telling me about, he got in this argument with his girl because he was like, look, every time we get in a fight, you go calling your mama. And he was like, whenever I do, he's like, that's fine if you want to talk to your mama when we have problems. But he said, when I do something positive for you, when I buy you flowers, I take you to dinner, I surprise you on your birthday, he's like, I hope you give that the same energy. I hope you tell her all of those times as much as you tell her the bad times. Because if you don't, what's going to end up happening is she's going to listen to you complain about me, for, the next couple of times. And then she's going to say, you need to break up with him. He's not treating you right. And then they're going to take your side because they don't know any of the positive things I've ever done for you. All they know is the negative. See, if you told them the positive, then maybe they would calm your ass down and say something like, well, I just think you two just need to just chill out for a minute. And I think that you misinterpreted what he's saying. Like, you'll get some balance with the mother actually, sticking up for him, knowing her daughter and knowing how ridiculous her daughter can be. You know what I mean? But that's only going to happen if the mother has, balanced information, or even the father. You go around telling a father nothing but the negativity that your boyfriend did. You know what I mean? He's going to think this dude is a piece of shit. But you didn't tell him about the birthday presents. You didn't tell him about the flowers. You didn't tell him about, the trips. You didn't tell him about the picnics in the park. And you didn't tell him about that. You didn't tell them about the roses at work. You didn't tell them about none of that shit. The oversized teddy bear that they couldn't fit through the fucking door. You didn't tell them about that. So he's running around thinking this nigga ain't shit. And they're never going to take his size or take his side, and they're never going to come with any reasonable, because they're emotionally hooked to the idea that, oh, he's mistreating my daughter. And as a result, what do you get? You get problems. This shit is the same thing. It's just like, I don't know why you all worry about where black men are going or who black men are choosing or any of this stuff. All this, we want a black man and all this, because y'all don't think anything positive about us. Nothing. And the crazy thing is, again, like I said, y'all only really want like 10 to 20% of dudes, and most of them are street dudes. You know what I mean? Because it's like, y'all say all this negative stuff about black men, but you all will go out here and you will still have their babies. You will be in relationships with these dudes. Like, you guys are walking contradictions. At least the black men that, if you want to say they're self-hating, colorists, don't like black women for whatever reason, done, passport bros, all that, at least they're consistent. They're consistent with not fucking with y'all when they decide that they're done. But y'all just want to sit around and you want to talk bad about black men and then talk about how desperately you want a black man to be in a relationship with. Make that shit make sense. Anyway, that's all I got to say. That's my video. SWP out. Don't forget to comment, share, like, and subscribe.